what are the different steps which are to be undertaken in the process of management? First one being planning. Now, what is planning? At your end also, many a times after you pass out from class 12th, you plan a continuation party. You plan. That is deciding in advance what is to be done in future. Okay, we will schedule our continuation party after our pre-boards are over, our board practicals are over. You are planning, right? That is just going to be the right time wherein मेरे बोर्ड के प्रैक्टिकल्स खत्म है, मुझे टेंशन नहीं है ज्यादा, तो ये एकदम सही टाइम है पार्टी करने के लिए. बोर्ड के एग्जाम शुरू होने से पहले आई एम गोइंग टू हैव दिस पार्टी, राइट? देन यू प्लान that okay, I am going to have it at ABC banquet hall. Fine. What is the cost factor? आप वो estimate करते हो. उसके बाद आप decide करते हो कितने लोग आएंगे यहाँ पे and how much each one of them is going to contribute. Right? So you are basically, what are you doing? You are deciding in advance what is to be done in future. Planning is nothing else but taking a peep into the future and deciding your actions today. You decide that what is going to be my plan of action depending upon the predictions that you've made about future. Remember, this is planning is only based on predictions. It can never be accurate. It is not, there is not 100% guarantee that whatever plan you have made, maybe you plan to, for a continuation party, you thought that you are going to have it in open air. But that day, it starts raining. So your plan went for a 6. It is not going to be successful, right? But it depends. The success of a plan is dependent upon many factors, right? Future is something that you cannot predict with accuracy. So whatever plan you are going to make, that is on the basis of the predictions, the assumptions that you've made about future. Clear? Second comes organizing. In planning, I have identified the broad objectives of my organization. I have identified the broad objectives of my organization towards which I am going to continuously work, right? Now, after I have identified the objectives, like I told you in the previous example, while planning in the morning, your mother decides that I am going to make A, B and C. This is what I am going to cook, right? I am going to have 3 rooms cleaned, or this is the number of the clothes that I am going to have washed and ironed, right? So my objectives have been clearly defined in the process of planning. Then comes into picture organizing, wherein I am going to arrange all the material. Right? I am going to arrange all the material which is required to give a practical shape to my plans. Whatever material is required to give a practical shape to my plans. Again, going back to the same example, after having decided that I am going to make, let's say, pasta, right? Now, whatever are the ingredients which are required to make that particular dish, I am going to arrange for that, right? And I am going to decide who's going to do what. I am going to define the authority responsibility relationships in the process of organizing. In the process of organizing, right? I am going to define that A is going to report to B, B is going to report to C, and C will finally come and report to the manager. This is what I do in the process of organizing, right? Thereafter, third process comes staffing. After you have identified what all is to be done, right? Who's going to be doing what? You have identified the different roles, right? That I need to have a sales manager, I need to have a production manager, I need to have a marketing manager, I need to have a human resource manager, a finance manager, and the list goes on. You have identified different roles. You have identified different roles. Fine. So now in staffing, you are going to be hiring, you're going to be looking at hiring just the right person who is going to be fit for performing that role. You are looking for a right person who's going to be fit for performing that role so that he's able to perform his duties to the best of his abilities. That is what we do in staffing. After this comes fourth function, that is directing. Now, in directing, it includes basically leading and motivating the employees. Leading and motivating. As a manager, I'm going to lead and I'm going to motivate my employees to work towards fulfillment of the organizational goals. To work towards the fulfillment of the organizational goals, I'll have to create an environment which is conducive for them to work to the best of their abilities and to work towards the organizational fulfillment of the organizational goals, right? I'll have to create a congenial environment. I'll have to define the formal lines of communication, the informal lines of communication, right? Being a leader, I'll have to basically persuade them, right, or convince them, all right. I'll have to keep directing their efforts towards one direction. I'll have to direct the efforts of all the employees towards one direction, that is accomplishment or fulfillment of the organizational goals. Last but not the least step that we talk about is controlling. Now we take a halt over here. What is controlling? Controlling is looking back. Right? I had set certain standards of performance. While planning. Right? Then in these three steps, under controlling, I'm going to see, have I adhered to those standards? Am I really working towards the accomplishment of the organizational goals, or how far have I been successful in accomplishment of the organizational goals? If I have been successful, good. If not, where am I deviating? Why am I deviating? And what steps should I take so that I do not deviate? This is what comes under controlling. So I repeat, management is basically a process of getting the work done by others. When we say process, we mainly talk about these 5 steps, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. While going back to organizing, there's a very good example that comes to my mind, that a watch, okay, it has close to about 156 components. Right? It's only when these components, they work in tandem to each other, that your watch gives you a right tick. Clear? You take all those 156 components and put it in a handkerchief and tie it up. Will it give you a right tick? No, it will not work. It is only when all these components are put together at the right place. Each of the component has a role to play. Now, if that component is fitted at the right place and it plays its role nice and proper, only then your watch is going to function properly. Right?